Hi everyone, my name is Kelly with Pass It On Sales. In this tutorial, we'll be going over the goals, guidelines, and helpful tips for hanging clothes. This is my 6th year with Pass It On Sales, and you may have seen me volunteering as an inspector or during the sort shift. Volunteering in these two areas has given me a unique perspective, seeing what clothing items are rejected before the sale, and then seeing what clothing items are unsold at the end of the sale. I'm hoping to share some information so that everyone has the best sale experience possible, both as a consignor and as a shopper. So we have 3 main goals when hanging clothes. Our first goal is to present the clothes as best as possible. Think retail. If items are not hanging well correctly, they're less likely to sell and be seen by the shopper. So think about how we see things hung in a retail setting like at Target or Old Navy, and then we want to copy that. Our second goal is to keep the clothes off the floor. There are certain things that we can do when we're hanging the clothes to ensure that they'll stay on the hanger. And I'll be going over some of those strategies later on and showing you some examples. Because let's be honest, clothes that are on the floor just don't sell. They end up on the floor for many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is that they're just not on the right size hanger or they're not hung correctly. Third goal is to keep sets and accessories together. We can do that a number of ways, and you can use tagging barbs, pins, zip ties, or rubber bands to connect items or hangers. And just a note there not to use the tagging gun or pins to go through the main garment fabric. They should go through the seams or selvage only. We also don't want to hang clothing items together only by the tagging gun or the pins. And so I'll be showing some examples of that as well. So we have 3 main hanging guidelines, and these can be found on the Pass It On website under the How to Prep section. So our first is that we want to hang clothes the right direction. The hanger should make a question mark when looking at the front of the clothing item. This is very helpful so that as you're going down the line, the rack of clothes, that all of the clothes are facing the same direction for the shopper. The second guideline is that we want to use the right size hanger. 5T and up should be on an adult hanger or a larger kids youth hanger. And then third, we want to be using the correct hanging method for pants. Pants hangers with clips are always best, but if you don't have a pants hanger, you can use a triangle hanger with safety pins, but they should be pinned to the top bar, ideally in the hanging grooves. The goal is to keep the pants from sliding down to the corner bunched up. You can also use binder clips as long as they don't slide around. These are best on plastic triangle hangers versus the wire hangers. And you can even hot glue the binder clips to the hanger if you have the time or energy. So I'm gonna show you a couple of those examples. So first, we want to have the hanger facing the right way, which is making a question mark. And so that way all the clothes are facing the right direction on the racks. Now we want to use the right size hanger. So here I have a 3T garment and a 7T garment. And you can see that if you tip them side to side, they both stay on. But if you are going down the rack and you tag on the 3T garment, it stays on pretty well. I'm tugging pretty hard there. But as soon as I tag the least bit on this 7T garment or size 7 garment, it just slips off. And eventually, as people are moving through these garments, this is just going to end up on the floor. And then last, we want to hang pants correctly. And so I'm going to focus a lot of time on this because this is where we see probably the most errors or the most trouble with pants at the sale. Ideally, you would have one of these. These are like gold, especially the ones that slide because you can use them for infant and for toddler and youth sizes. But not everybody has pants hangers and they can be difficult to find. So one method is to use actually I'm going to show you what not to do. So this is what we don't want to see. We don't want to see pants hanging like this. They just don't display well. Remember, we're thinking retail. This isn't how we see them in a retail setting. And they slide to the back, and they just don't get seen by shoppers. And we end up with so many of pants like this at the end of sort that just are hanging like that because people are not looking at them. They don't take the time to really straighten them out and look for the tag. And so we advise to not to do this whenever possible. So if you're using wire hangers, this is a nifty method that one of our team leads came up. Again, it's not ideal, but it kind of works, especially with toddler size. These are 4T. I'm not sure this would work as well with infant. And again, this is only for something that has belt loops, but you can see it keeps it straight. It's not going to slide off. I mean, I can tug on this pretty good. Just doesn't look very pretty. So there's a couple alternatives too. If you have binder clips, you can clip the pants here to the top. We always want to clip it to the top for a triangle hanger. As long as it's not going to slide around and keeps the front of the pant flat, that will work just fine. Now I mentioned hot glue. If you're really crafty and you want to take some extra time, you can actually put some hot glue along the base of the clip and use it, basically converting any hanger to a pants hanger by doing that. As long as that is affixed and not going to slide back and forth, it works. So that is another way to improvise. Another way you can do it is using zip ties, again, to the top. Ideally, the hangers that have the notches here so it doesn't slide to the corners. So you can zip tie through the belt loops. Okay. And then if a garment doesn't have belt loops, you can pin. Again, we want to be very careful with pinning or using our tagging gun, not to go through the main garment fabric. And so I will show you here from the back, the pin is not going through the main garment. If it creates a hole, the hole is going to be on the inside here. So any selvage or inside fabric from the waistband is acceptable to pin through. Again, we want to keep it in the grooves. Now, this is probably the least okay way of doing it. The reason for that is that during the sale, these pins tend to move and travel, and they can actually work their way up and out of the grooves. And then the same thing as with the wire hanger, the pants end up like this at the end of the sale. So again, this would probably be my last resort here, just because they don't generally stay. And if there's a way you think you can do it better so that they stay, you know, that would work as well. Oh, and then if you have a straight arm hanger, this is very similar to the wire hanger example. And this is an adult size, so you probably need to go with a smaller size if you're using infant clothing. But you can also use a straight arm through these little openings here and do it through the belt loop. You just want to be careful that you're not stretching or putting any stress on these belt loops, because the last thing we want is it to break or damage the belt loops and then have it not sellable. So that is another strategy for hanging pants. So now we're going to be talking about some hanging tips that address the three main goals with hanging: presenting our clothing well, keeping the clothes off the floor, and keeping our sets together. So first, with preparing our clothes and making them presentable, we want to treat and remove all the stains first, do a quick inspection, make sure there's no holes. We want to make sure we're getting the wrinkles out. We can iron, we can put them in the dryer with a wet towel, or use my personal favorite is Downy Wrinkle Releaser Spray. We want to remove all of the lint and pet hair, and if the garment has a lot of pills or bumps on the fabric, we can use a fabric shaver. We want to trim any excess threads off. I'll show you that. So first, to get the wrinkles out, this is my favorite here, Downy Wrinkle Releaser. You can see here, if you have a shirt that has a lot of wrinkles, you just spray this on, and you just smooth it out and give it a couple tugs in different directions. And then, like magic, kind of lets all those wrinkles out. So it's really quick and easy, and I'm not a big fan of ironing. So then there's also this handy little tool called a fabric shaver, or pill remover. I got this, I've had this for a long time actually, and this brand is called Evercare, but they do sell these on Amazon, and you just turn it on, and then you can go over the front of the fabric, and if there's any of those little pills, it'll just take them right off. It's pretty safe to use. Just be careful, because if you're too aggressive with it, you could actually damage the fabric. And then I mentioned the lint brush. I always have one of these on hand when I'm hanging clothes, just to give them a quick once over, because we have dogs and long hair. So just to make sure, because often the clothes that I'm consigning have been in storage for a while. So okay, I'm gonna share my screen. So our next goal is to keep the clothes off the floor. So we have a number of tips for that. First, secure all the buttons and the zippers. We can use barbs to secure or tighten the front of the garment. This helps for loose clothing items like shawls and cardigans. And then there's a way to use rubber bands on the hanger to create more of an anti-slip for things like blouses. So I'll share some of those. So first, again, this kind of helps two things. One, it helps present the garment the best, because when we're shopping retail, we generally see all the buttons buttoned up. We don't see just the top button and everything else open, and I see that all the time when I'm shopping or when I'm getting things through my inspection line. And I think it really helps display the garment when you do all the buttons up, and then especially that top button keeps it on the hanger better. So that is one thing. And zips as well, especially with hoodies, zipping it all the way up, or with pants, making sure those zippers are up and all the buttons are buttoned, really helps to keep the clothes off the floor. Then if you have something like a cardigan that doesn't have any buttons, you can actually put a barb through there and create your own closure. And this just closes that right up and will keep the item on the hanger. I also had this coat here. It's kind of like a sweatshirt coat, and it was, had these buttons here, but this was actually pretty loose. And even with using a hanger that had this grip thing, it's still kind of sliding off. But there was this loop back here. It's like, oh, well, I think I could just zip tie that to the hanger itself. That way, if the shoulder slips off, it's still going to stay on the hanger, stay on the rack, and not on the floor. So that's an idea. And then, our blouses typically come with these hanging things, but if you're like me, I end up cutting them off because they're bothersome when you're wearing them. But if you do have them, use them. But if you don't, you could look for a hanger that has the grips on them. This is like a foam kind of grip. There's these hangers here that have little grippies. You can see that. I don't know if it's not a great close up there. Sometimes kids' hangers have these on them, these little grips. But if you don't have one of those, you can make one pretty easy by just using some rubber bands. Wrap some rubber bands around the end of the hanger, spread them out so there's several layers there, and then I'm going to take these off and do a little demonstration. You're going to see that, oops, let me straighten this out. On this side, this actually grips pretty well. But on this other side, oh, it's off. So had I done it on both, it probably would have stayed on a lot better. So that's an example on how we can keep loose fitting blouses and shirts off the floor and on the hanger. Then our third hanging tip is to keep our sets together. Ideally, we would have hangers that are created for multiple sets. Those are called coordinates hangers. They're hard to come by. You kind of have to stockpile them because they're like gold, especially with infant clothing. But if you don't have a coordinates hanger, you can always zip tie multiple hangers together or use rubber bands. Whenever we have multiple pieces, as you know, items don't always stay on the hanger. So we want to ensure that if for whatever reason, those items get off the hanger, separate, that they stay together. And you can do that with using tags or pins. And we just want to make sure that we're going through the seams or the selvage and not through the main fabric garment. And if you've ever bought something like PJ sets at Costco, you can probably think about how many tagging barbs you've had to cut through taking those apart. So I'll show you here. So the first thing is having a hanger. I have one handy here. Having a coordinates hanger is the easiest way, honestly. So if you are at the end of the sale, if you want to try to look for some of these, there might be some up for grabs for consigners. But you'll see here that I have a pajama set. It comes with 3 pieces, a shirt, shorts, and pants. And so, it just displays very nicely like that with the coordinates. But if I didn't have coordinates hanger, I could simply just do the same thing with 2 hangers and zip tie them together or rubber band them together. And when you are hanging multiples like this, it's nice to display it where you're looking at the front of one garment, and when you flip it or turn it around, you're looking at the front of the second garment. That's very helpful for shoppers, especially if you have 2 shirts together so you can see both and you don't have to like, oh, what does that look like? So I recommend trying to keep that in mind when you're bundling hangers together. One of the things with sets that I hear a lot is how do we do like multiple onesies, because people don't have the hanger, and rubber banding 5 onesies to 5 hangers together might be a little cumbersome. If you have a good, I don't have any onesies, and my kids are a bit older, but if you have a good pants clip hanger, you can actually clip it like this and clip multiple onesies together. So just try to be creative in how you do that with the little infant clothing. Or you could do a onesie and a pair of pants with a pants clip hanger as well. And so then we talked about keeping the items together in case they get separated. So if you had these rubber banded together and the rubber band broke during the sale, whoops, now one item has a tag that says shirt and pants, but there's only a shirt, and the pants are floating off by themselves with no tag on it. So that's something that's probably when it gets sold because it's not how it was intended to be sold. So what we can do is connect these together like we see them in the retail stores, so that if this shirt slips off from this hanger at some point, it's not on the floor, it's connected to these pants somehow. And so it takes some time. You have to be a little bit creative, but once you've done it a few times, you kind of get used to it. Again, you always want to go through the selvage. So you can see in this example, I have the pajama top connected to the pajama shorts, and I'm going through the selvage here. You can see that barb going right through the selvage. It's the inside fabric on the inseam, and same thing on the shorts. So it's not going through the main garment fabric, it's just going through that little extra. That way, if this shirt comes off, well, it's still with everything else. And then I did the same thing with the pants and the shorts. I just went through the inseam on the waistband. So that's my recommendation. Again, it's extra time, but it means that your items will stay together even if something comes off the hanger. Now, we don't ever recommend that you attach clothes or hang clothes from each other. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have an infant top with infant shorts and you want, and you didn't use 2 hangers, you just wanted to do it on the same hanger. we don't ever recommend hanging the shorts from the shirt. That's going to continue to pull, and it's too much weight to support it independently. So we would like to see that it's on its own hanger or on a coordinates hanger. It's okay to attach them together because they're not actually hanging from it. It's not putting that pressure and that tension on it. It's just there just in case it's needed. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get free hangers. Ideally, there would be an abundance of the right type of hangers for every clothing item, and that you would just have them on hand. But unless you hound and store hangers all year like I do, you probably are short and need to improvise. I really stock up because I typically tag for clients and have hangers in every size and shape for my tagging clients. So I have I've had a number of strategies over the years, so I'm going to share those. Certain retailers do give hangers out for free. I always recommend that you ask politely, and that they're going to be more cooperative if you're actually purchasing something from the store. So I try to include it in my shopping. Old Navy, Kohl's, Fred Meyer's, and Walmart's are the ones that I know are typically very accommodating and let you take as many hangers as you need. I know specifically Target and Carter's will not let you take them, and there's others too, but those are the ones that I know for sure do not let you take hangers. So definitely, keep those eyes open all year long, and if you have a spot to store them, I recommend kind of doing that so that you have a supply for the next sale. Next, if you're in a pinch, you can look online. I'm part of a local Buy Nothing group on Facebook, and that's a great resource for getting stuff for free pretty easily. You just ask your neighbors in the Buy Nothing group, hey, I need kids hangers, or I need pants hangers, and see if anybody has any to spare. You can also check free sections on selling sites like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or Nextdoor. You can post a request on those sites generally too. So you definitely look online. And then you can check the Pass It On forum. We have several posts from people who are offering free hangers when they have finished tagging. If you have a specific need, you can ask for those. So hopefully there's someone close by that you might be able to get some extras from. Also, Kim's posted in the past about a spot in Hillsborough that has large boxes of adult-size hangers. Those boxes are generally a mix of these black retail kind of hangers, and some hangers just have tops, some have bottoms and tops. Kim just asked that you don't you just take the box and go, and not like open the box up and dig through them and only take what you want, because it's a free resource that we don't want to abuse. So you want to be respectful of the business there and just kind of grab and go. And if you can't find that post on the forum, just ask one of us, and we'll let you know how to get there. Another great resource is just to take some home after the Pass It On sale. So consigners can get leftover hangers during pickup. We generally have a big bin of hangers that are left over from the sale, from donate items, from items that just as people purchase, they didn't want to take the hangers. So we definitely usually have tons of leftover hangers, and you can pick those up when you pick up your items after the sale. Also, if you're volunteering at any point in the time, you can usually grab some hangers and take them home during your shifts. So the extra hangers are usually hanging out at the very front of the building by the cashiers, or they're over by the hold area. And you can ask any volunteer where some might be, and they'll help you, especially if you really want to look for pants hangers, or you really want to look for those coordinates hangers. Those are the ones I always make sure to grab. And then lastly, keep your eye out for store closures. I actually scored some really big boxes of free hangers when Gymboree and Crazy 8 were closing. It was a little bit of work for me, and of course I have to store these boxes in my attic. But I bought, I think, 2 boxes, good size moving boxes, full for $5. And I think it ended up being like 3 cents a hangers, and I specifically was after these guys, but I got tops and bottoms. But then I went back 2 days later and they were actually they were giving them away for free. So it wasn't even, you know, when I first went, it was early in the closure process and I had to pay for it. But then I went right before they did close and they were just like, take it, take it, take it. So I got as many as I could because I'm tagging for clients and I don't want to have to spend money on those hangers, and I just want to have the right size hanger for when I need it. So those are some tips for getting some free hangers. So lastly, I'm just going to go through a few more hanging tips. And again, this is just to ensure that everybody's having the best sale as possible from both the consignor side of things and also as a shopper. As consignors, we're always shopping too, and we want to see things done right so that we have a great shopping experience too. So first, we want to just keep making sure that our clothing items stay on the hangers. Do that shake test. I mean, if you have a 4T or a 5T item and you think, I don't know if I'm using the right one, or you have a blouse, you know, go back and forth and see if it stays on. And keep in mind, the items don't sell well from the floor. Like I mentioned, multiple onesies or small infant clothes can be hung with the pants clip type hanger. So, you know, if you had a little itty bitty pants and shirt or onesie, and you didn't want to put them on multiple hangers, you could use something like binder clips, or you could use something like this in lieu of having a multiple hanger. And then we want to try to make sets that match. And this is more of a best practice. I mean, you can definitely sell items together, like a shirt and a pair of shorts or 2 shirts. But from a shopping perspective, we like to see that the items match, that they're kind of the same theme, ideally the same brand, and they have to be the same size. So think about, did you buy those together? If you have 2 shirts, maybe just 2 generic t-shirts, maybe one's a Circo and one's a Gymboree. Well, those are completely different brands and different styles generally, and usually they're different shoppers that are attracted to those brands. And the sizing is likely different too. I think Gymboree is usually like 6 to 12 months, whereas Circo will be either 6 months or 12 months, and they don't always match up. They don't always align. So we really try to emphasize that when you're putting sets together, make sure that they match in style. Ideally, if they came together, you're selling them together, and that they're the same size or brand. If not, I recommend selling them separately. I think items sell better when they are individual, especially when you get into the older sizes. Toddler and up generally sell much better as individual items. For instance, if I was going to sell these Children's Place jeans and this Genuine Kids shirt, somebody might really like the shirt, but they don't need another pair of jeans. Or maybe their child is in a really large size of jeans and a regular size shirt. So, you know, you could put these together and sell them as a set, but you're limiting your buyers a little bit by doing so. So we recommend that you sell them individually, especially when they're different brands. Then we also recommend that you show off the clothes like retailers do. If a pant leg or arm sleeve rolls and cuffs, demonstrate that on one side. Make sure your collars and cuffs are all nice and neat and that the wrinkles are turned out. So let's see. So as you can see, I made sure that my collar here is all nice and neat, and it's not like, you know, it's not up like that or tucked in like that. And that with this shirt, it had a nice detail here where the sleeve rolls up and it's different fabric. So that's an example of how you can make that display kind of with the best features highlighted. And here's another example as well. And here's an example of a collar that's kind of messy. And so now I might need to spend a little bit more effort in getting this one to lay. And there. Another tip is to, again, make sure all the buttons are buttoned, all the zippers are zipped, and then a lot of our jeans or pants have the cinches on. And what I mean by cinches is that elastic on the inside here. And undoing that makes the pants hang a little bit better. I think when you have them cinched all the way up, it can cause it to look a little bit bulky there. And I think the pants just display nicer when it's all nice and flat. So that's just another little tip to help make your clothes more presentable. So I hope those tips are helpful, and thank you so much for watching this tutorial. And if you have any questions, you can post your comments in the comment section and we will try to get back to you. Thank you guys.